Everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I have kind of a weird topic, and it is related to chronic illness because the way that I came across this was because of my chronic illness status. So what I want to talk about is having two phones or more than one phone number, having two phone numbers at least. And what does this have to do with chronic illness? Well, here in the state of California, I'm not sure how this works in other states, but at least here in the state of California, if you are I think if you're a Medicare, I'm sorry, a Medi-Cal recipient, um, you qualify for a free phone. So a free cell phone and basically free telephone service. So I don't know if this is a newer program, but I've had my phone for a few years now. I do have another phone that I do pay for and that I've been paying for a long time through I think through Verizon. And um, then I learned a few years ago that I could qualify because I was on Medicare as I'm sorry, Medi-Cal as well as Medicare, that I could qualify for this other phone. So that's how I stumbled upon the free phone situation. Now, a lot of people are probably thinking like, if you're already paying for a phone, why do you need another phone? Isn't that kind of greedy? And the answer is, well, yeah, it kind of is, but there have been things that have happened during the time that I've been sick, that makes having two phones or having multiple phone numbers a um, beneficial. So one of those things that I have learned that many of us that are chronically ill um, have experienced is making phone calls and being put on hold, particularly when you are calling a state or government entity and the wait times are absurd, and it's just something that is it is one of those things that chronically ill people and disabled people should never ever have to deal with, and it's one of the things that we deal with regularly. So when I was first trying to qualify, actually, no, I was already qualified for Medicare and Medi-Cal, but something happened, I believe, with my Medi-Cal. I mean, every person that is disabled will have something go wrong at some point with your benefits, with your insurance, with your doctors, with one of the many things that we need in order to survive. And you're going to have to start making phone calls. And one of the things that I have learned now, having two separate phones and two phone numbers, is that when you call a place and they put you on hold, you can also call from your other phone. And essentially, I don't want to say tie up their lines, but for whatever reason, I have noticed that once I started doing that, calling from multiple phones and being placed on hold, they start answering your calls a little bit faster. I think the reason is because you are tying up their phone lines, and then they see that there are multiple people on hold that are waiting. And so it just becomes, I think, a little bit more urgent because they see multiple people that are on hold on the line. This little trick has worked for me a few times. Like I said, especially when you're calling a government or a state office where they just love to put you on hold and just leave you on hold indefinitely. It has also worked very well for doctors' offices where I've been put on hold. It has worked also for just like calling like stores or calling to see if my like an order is ready or something, and they just go, okay, please hold, and you're on hold for, you know, after the first 10 minutes, you're just like, this, I should not be on hold this long. You call from another phone, and And that's the one thing, that is the trick. Do not hang up. I don't like, that's the thing, is that you get this anxiety from hanging up on the phone that you're making the phone call from, because then it's like, well, what if they answer this one? you know so I just leave that phone going and then call from the other phone, and typically it's the second phone that they'll answer, and then they'll direct your call wherever it needs to go. So that is one benefit of having the two phones, the two actual separate phones, and the two phone numbers. Um, One of the other things prior to having the second phone was that I actually had an app on the only phone that I had, because I just had one phone for quite some time. And I actually had an app where I could get a what I like to call is a burner phone number. So technically you do have two phone numbers, but they're both on the same phone. And that came in handy. I actually did that because I had an incident many years ago. I say many, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, where I met someone off of social media. I know, mistake number one. I met someone, gave him my actual phone number, and ended up not working out very well. And I did end up blocking his phone number, but since he had my phone number, he also got other phone numbers. He got a burner app himself, and then started calling my phone. So I now, if I ever meet anybody, or, if I'm on dating sites or anything, I no longer give out my actual phone number. I started giving out a burner number, or, in a burner number, you can actually destroy. If somebody starts harassing you, or if you no longer need that number, you can actually let it go, and then it kind of goes back into the rotation, and somebody else can take the number. So that works really, really well. Eventually, this individual did lose my real phone number, and was, not able to get in touch with me. I will never, when it comes to dating and that kind of thing, I will never give out my real phone number or my primary phone number anymore. That phone number is connected to doctors, pharmacies, um, and that was the anxiety that I had. Was I did not want to change that phone number, because it was going to be a massive, like, overhaul of, my entire life, every doctor, every pharmacy, um, all of my personal contacts, family, friends, things like that. And I cannot change my primary phone number, because, there's just so much crucial, so many crucial contacts connected to that number. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I recommend that you have an alternate number on that same phone that you have on your primary phone, or you try and qualify yourself for a second phone. I highly recommend actually having a separate second phone, because there are just so many benefits apart from the ones that I have just mentioned. There's a lot of places too. There's a lot of stores like Ulta, where they have a phone number connected to your, like, account, and they ask you for your phone number when you're in the store. It is so anxiety inducing for me to go into a store and for them to ask me for my phone number, and for me to say it out loud when there's people behind me in line that can easily hear my number and take it. So, on top of the fact that I will not open an account with stores like that, it's always a good idea to have a secondary phone number or a burner phone number that you can use for stuff like that. And there's a lot of places that do that. Any online accounts that you have will ask you for a phone number when you place any orders. For example, when I place orders like grocery pickup, things like that, they'll always ask you for a phone number. And I just don't feel comfortable giving out my primary phone number in those cases. I would prefer to give out an alternate phone number, because you just never know. You never know whose hands can get, whose hands your phone number can land in, that you really don't want to have your number. Um, it's a good phone number for acquaintances or for extended family. I've had the issue where there's family that starts sending these group texts that absolutely drive me insane, and I would prefer for them to have my secondary phone number. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten that far, but it's having another phone is really great for those, like, uh, sister of my sister-in-law, friend of a cousin or something, those extended family members that you don't really see all the time and that you really don't want texting your primary phone or having your primary phone number. Um, that's where this can become very crucial, because let me tell you, those group texts will drive me out of my mind. You can simply turn off that phone and still have your primary phone on in case your doctor's office calls. um, I get a lot of urgent care calls because I'm always at urgent care, and I give them my primary phone number. So it's essential for me to have one phone that is always on, that is always on me. And I don't want obnoxious text messages coming in through that phone. And like I said, a lot of times it is a safety issue. You don't want someone that you barely know having your primary phone number. In a lot of cases, when it comes to dating, I will give even a social media, I'll say, message me through Twitter, message me through whatever, somewhere else, because even my secondary number, I've become very, very attached to, and I hesitate to give it out. The burner apps, if you only have one phone, I do recommend a burner app, but I do think they charge now. At the time that I was using it, it was free. But I think they are starting to charge for those apps because I think they become more popular or more essential, especially for people like, me, where I don't want to give out my actual real phone number. So you may have to pay like, a subscription fee or whatever. I would say it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. But if you can qualify for a free phone, I mean, you get the entire phone and the number. It's not going to be a great phone. It's going to be like a cheap little phone. Sometimes you can use one of your old phones and get your service on that phone. I believe right now, because of the pandemic and all of that, you get free talk, text, and I think unlimited data. You may be able to qualify for that. Don't quote me on that. But it is, I think, dependent on income level or dependent on whether you're receiving Medi-Cal and that kind of thing. But I highly recommend looking into it. I think you can Google free phone. I think I get mine through SafeLink. You can Google SafeLink here in California. But I believe there are multiple different service providers that provide that. I do know that Verizon is now no longer on contract, so you can do month to month with Verizon. I think I pay maybe $35 a month for Verizon, which isn't bad at all for the amount of talk, text, and data that you get. So that's not bad at all. But I love having the two phones. I highly recommend it. This is a topic I've really been wanting to address for a while, and I just keep forgetting. But for those of you that have, monthly medications, monthly doctor's appointments, or you're in and out of urgent care, in and out of the hospital, seeing specialist after specialist, I can't recommend this enough. For anybody that is currently qualifying for Medicare or any kind of government help, making those government phone calls, or if you're qualifying for Social Security disability, anything like that, making those government phone calls is such a pain. And having two phones, I'm telling you, it has really helped me to get through those hold times a little bit faster. It is agonizing. It is, I think, one of the most distressing things for a sick person to just be on hold when you are trying to get through to something that essential. For example, like I said, when you're trying to qualify for Social Security, or if something has happened to your benefits. That has happened to me, where I've had some of my benefits. And then you also have, I also have one phone. That's another good thing. I have alarms on one phone that I don't have on the other phone. And that also saves battery on my primary phone. But yeah, when you're trying to, when you have a mishap with your benefits like I've had, and you're trying to requalify, and you're trying to reach your social worker, or, get through the office to speak to somebody, those whole times are really they're so distressing and so obnoxious. And it is kind of, like I said, it is a little sneaky to have, to call from another phone and to kind of tie up their lines, but sometimes they don't have the level of urgency that you do. And you got to do what you got to do in order to get things done, because we have deadlines. That is the one thing, is that they'll send you a notice and you have to get it in by such and such date. And so it becomes really stressful, because if you don't get it in by that date, then they will completely cut off your benefits. And then you have to start from scratch, resubmitting paperwork, resubmitting doctor's notes, whatever. And that is, I mean, listen, I went through the process in the very beginning. It is absolute agony, but once you do it, you're fine, you're good to go. If there's a little hiccup along the way, you start remembering how horrible it was to go through it, and you don't want to get any of your stuff in late. So highly recommend it. And like I said, you can have alarms, reminders, and all kinds of stuff on your other phone. You can have one email associated with one phone, another email associated with your primary phone. There's so much that you can do with two phones if it's at all possible. Get yourself a second phone if you qualify for the free phone. It is so beneficial, especially for those of us that have a disability. So that is my topic. I know, kind of off topic, but actually very applicable for those of us who are sick. And people think that we have nothing going on in our lives, that we're just sitting around, but there are many phone calls to be made when you're sick. There are many people that you need to talk to all the time. And sometimes it is necessary to have a secondary line so that you can sort of sort out and organize, prioritize who you really need to talk to and who isn't really that important to talk to, um, that can wait. So that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, check out, a safe link, Google free phone, government phone, or state phone, something like that, and it should come up. Any information should come up. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you again very soon. Take care.